The video takes viewers into a world where technology, warfare, and geopolitics collide in ways that feel both fascinating and terrifying. It begins with a simple but powerful question: can we really print weapons with 3D technology? What once sounded like the plot of a futuristic movie is now becoming a reality, and the podcast takes the time to explain how this development is reshaping global security and particularly intensifying the ongoing rivalry between China and the United States. What makes the discussion so engaging is that it does not treat 3D printing as just a technical curiosity but as a force that can alter the balance of power, the strategies of nations, and even the very nature of war. The conversation highlights how 3D printing, once used mainly for creative industries, medical devices, and consumer goods, is now being adapted for military purposes. This technology allows for the creation of physical objects directly from digital designs, and while that sounds simple, the consequences are enormous. Imagine soldiers in remote battlefields printing spare parts for tanks or drones instead of waiting weeks for them to arrive from distant factories. Imagine a navy producing crucial components while out at sea, bypassing the need for long and vulnerable supply chains. These are not abstract ideas but practical applications already being explored by major powers, and the podcast skillfully outlines why this matters so much for military strategy. A striking point raised in the video is how this technology could reduce costs and lower the barriers to entry. Traditional weapons manufacturing requires enormous factories, skilled labor, and huge amounts of money. With 3D printing, the requirements shrink dramatically. All that is needed is a reliable printer, the right materials, and access to digital blueprints. This democratization of weapons production could empower smaller nations or even non-state actors to produce tools of war that were once the exclusive domain of superpowers. The risks of this are obvious, and the podcast does not shy away from addressing the potential for widespread proliferation of dangerous technologies. The geopolitical lens through which the video frames the issue is particularly compelling. The United States and China are portrayed as the two central players in this technological race. For Washington, 3D printing represents a chance to maintain its edge by streamlining logistics, reducing costs, and innovating faster than its rivals. For Beijing, the technology offers a way to close the gap with American military dominance, leapfrogging traditional limitations in production and establishing its own resilience in the event of conflict. This competitive dynamic is not just about producing better weapons but also about rewriting the rules of warfare itself, making conflicts faster, more unpredictable, and potentially harder to control. The podcast also touches on the ethical and security dilemmas that come with such advancements. If weapons can be printed quickly and cheaply, how will governments regulate their spread? How can treaties, arms control agreements, or international law keep up with a technology that moves at such a rapid pace? The hosts raise thought-provoking questions about whether we are prepared for the legal and moral challenges posed by this new era of warfare. The idea that someone with access to files on the internet could theoretically produce lethal weapons in their own workshop adds a disturbing layer to the conversation, one that extends far beyond traditional military settings. What makes the review of this video so impactful is the way it blends technical insight with broader reflections on global politics. The discussion is not bogged down in jargon but instead paints vivid scenarios that help listeners grasp why this technology matters. You come away with a sense that 3D printing is not just about machines and materials but about the future of human conflict, the vulnerability of global systems, and the creativity that can be turned toward either constructive or destructive ends. The podcast succeeds in making its audience feel both informed and unsettled. It sparks curiosity about how far the technology has already advanced, while also leaving you with an awareness of the dangers that might lie ahead. It balances the excitement of innovation with the sobering reality of what happens when such innovation is applied to the machinery of war. It also makes clear that the rivalry between China and the United States is not just a clash of armies or economies but a battle of ideas, technologies, and the ability to adapt to a world that is changing faster than ever. In conclusion, the video serves as a powerful reminder that technological progress is never neutral. Every new tool can be used for both creation and destruction, and 3D printing stands as one of the clearest examples of this dual potential. By focusing on the military dimension and tying it to the high-stakes contest between the world's two largest powers, the podcast makes the subject both urgent and deeply relevant. For anyone interested in the intersection of technology, security, and geopolitics. This is not just an informative discussion but a wake-up call to the challenges of our time. The review of the video leaves you with the impression that we are entering uncharted territory, where innovation outpaces regulation, and where the future of war may quite literally be printed layer by layer before our eyes.